Greetings, creatures. It's your friendly neighborhood editor here to let you in on a little of the behind-the-scenes action in the making of this episode. If you joined us for the previous episode, you know that the girls and I recorded over 2.5 hours worth of audio on the Flat Earth theory, and that we decided to turn it into a two-parter. So today's episode is the conclusion to our Flat Earth discussion. We hope you enjoy it.
So I have actually 10 facts according to a plaintruth.info, which is a flat earth informational site.
Ooh, okay.
These 10 facts are what they call irrefutable. However, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to refute every single one of them on here.
I mean, we're trying to show both sides.
Yeah. So one of their facts, and I kind of wanted to jump off what you were saying with the horizon. As you increase in altitude in an airplane or a hot air balloon or whatever you're in, or an aircraft or on a mountain, whatever, the horizon seems to stay at your eye level no matter how high up you are. And that's legit. You really feel like when you're looking out of an airplane, for example, that the horizon's right at your eye level. Now, the site says that proves that the Earth is flat and doesn't curve and doesn't, go downward at all, off the side. However, as we discussed, your senses are not really to be relied on. And as I said earlier, there are apps that literally will show how off the actual degree is down from your literal eye level. So yeah, we perceive it as eye level, but it's not really.
Well, and not to mention, you also can never go high enough to where you would actually see the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah, astronauts have to be way up there before they start seeing a curve.
Exactly. And so,
right, and astronauts would immediately disprove this, but the people who believe the Flat Earth theory believe that the astronauts are paid off.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them, but a lot of them believe that.
Right.
I don't want to group them all in there.
That's fair. You're right.
Or astronauts are, in fact, saying that there could be some merit to the Flat Earth theory. Because they didn't actually end up on the moon, right?
Yeah, that's actually one of the theories on here. Let me scroll to that one.
Good segue, Bree.
Segue was fire.
Segue was bomb.
Okay,
Bomb AF. You're probably
fire emoji, fire emoji.
You said
emoji.
AF. I can keep that, I think.
Heart eyes emoji surrounded in hearts.
Okay.
Poop emoji.
Yeah.
Moving on.
We're so with the kids' lingo.
I am a kid, so I'd hope so.
Okay, so this site, I'm just going to quote what they say for this one. So we were talking about that astronauts may be paid off, or they may not have visited the moon. I'm not quite sure how this proves flat Earth, but a lot of flat earthers believe that the moon landing wasn't real, that maybe the moon doesn't exist, as we talked about in a previous episode.
Which the moon landing thing we should do.
Yeah, we definitely
at some point do an episode on that.
We should do an episode on that. I'm going to touch on that just a little bit here, but we can definitely go more into depth later, and I'll try to have more information on this particular tidbit on the next one. But I'm just going to quote them. So, quote, Neil Armstrong's strange behavior and lack of willingness to do interviews for most of his life, following his one small step for man, if he's so interested in this giant leap for mankind, then why wouldn't he do interviews? Being one in a handful of people who have ever stepped foot on the moon, shouldn't he feel compelled to make himself available for questions? He never stepped on the moon. He knew his life was one gigantic lie, and he knew the lie couldn't hold up to scrutiny. Therefore, he avoids interviews. I would guess that his guilty conscience as being part of the deception ate away at him until he died. End quote. So, I did actually find a site. Well, first of all, Neil Armstrong really did very few interviews, so I will give them that. He really stayed away from the public eye after this. And that being said, his interviews were seemingly scripted, kind of short, but potentially the astronauts really didn't know a lot about the mission itself because there's a lot that goes into it. So, I will give them that. It's a little fishy.
Well, because also he's not a publicist, he's a scientist.
Right, he's not, a public figure
he's
like
not,
an actor or something.
Yeah, exactly. He's not someone who's trained socially, so it's not like, maybe he's just a socially awkward person, which a lot of people in science and math are.
Right. Okay, so I did find a site. It's called I can't pronounce it, Quora.com, Quora, that suggested that those that walked on the moon merely think that they did, as they were subjected to a mind control program of the CIA. The guy who runs the site shows photos from the Apollo 17 mission of the men who were on board and suggests that they look drugged. I saw those photos. The guys looked worn out and tired to me. They didn't really look drugged. They looked like they had had a hard time, which I would imagine they probably didn't get a lot of sleep.
I mean, space travel,
Yeah.
I mean, that's been scientifically proven to have a certain...
Whether we believe the flat Earth conspiracy or not, whether or not we went to the moon conspiracy is its own conspiracy.
Right. But
however, it does go into like how we've come to know that the Earth is round, because there were photos taken of the Earth on the moon landing.
Right.
But
I'm saying there are people who don't believe that we went to the moon that also don't believe that the Earth is flat.
That's true, yeah. Okay, so they say on the site that the moonlight is a cooling light and therefore must be some kind of light source on its own. That sentence in itself doesn't really make sense to me because, number one, the moonlight is not cooling light. That's false. According to some studies, one of which was reported by The Guardian, moonlight does in fact produce some heat onto the Earth's surface, but it's just really, really minuscule.
Yeah.
And because it's a reflection of the sun.
Yeah, it doesn't cool, it's just less hot than the sun.
Yeah.
And then they also say that if the moon is not giving off its own light, then why does its fullness or lack thereof affect people? We don't really know that for a fact. Why do the moon's phases affect crops and farming? Now, I'm not really sure where they're getting their stats here, like the moon affects crops and farming. There is a site that's specifically geared toward farming according to different phases of the moon, but it's a little bit more like different climate changes and year-round changes and everything. And technically, during certain phases of the moon, there's more water in the soil. But that's not necessarily the moon.
Yeah.
And some people say that fire acting differently in moonlight versus sunlight could prove that the Earth is flat, saying that the whole space thing is kind of a lie, that the moon is not actually a reflection of the sun. It's more of something that's kind of put there.
Wait. So...
That basically, what we've been told about space is incorrect.
Well, yeah, but what does that have in relation with fire?
Okay, apparently what they're saying on this site is that fire behaves differently in moonlight rather than sunlight, so it could not be a reflection of sunlight. That it must create its own light.
Okay, so how does fire behave differently?
That's the thing. I looked it up. I could not find any facts to either confirm or deny that. Like, I couldn't find anything that said anything about fire acting differently.
So they don't even describe how it behaves differently?
Nope.
That's weird.
Also, with the whole idea that the Earth is flat and what we see of space and what we're told about space is incorrect, is that we never see the dark side of the moon. They say because the dark side of the moon does not exist, because it's not a ball in so-called space. They say, if you want to laugh, look it up for yourselves, science's explanation for why we never see the dark side. But science's explanation makes sense to me. If we're around Earth and we're rotating, and the moon is also rotating, the moon is rotating about the same speed as it's revolving around the Earth as the Earth is rotating.
Yeah.
So we would only see that side of the moon. But they're saying that there is no other side of the moon because the Earth is not rotating, the moon is not rotating, space is not as we know it. Part of that also goes with, it looks to us, this is again going to senses, it looks to us from the naked eye that the moon and the sun are about the same size. But that's only because the moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, but also 400 times closer to us than the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
So they look about the same size.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like landscaping. It's like if you have something a lot closer to you in a picture, then it's going to look a lot bigger to you. You know, like those pictures of people, like, quote-unquote, holding the Eiffel Tower in their fingers.
It's the exact same concept. So I'm not really getting why...
Yeah.
That is, so they're saying on here that proves that we've been lied to about what space means, but I'm kind of refuting that one. This site also points out that the UN, the United Nations logo, the official United Nations logo, they say is a flat Earth map. Using the flat Earth map as a logo is the... Apparently, they say other organizations that use the Flat Earth map as their logo. So the International Civil Aviation Organization, the International Maritime Organization, and the World Meteorological Organization. Now, I did look up the UN logo.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. It's actually a map of the Earth in the, I can't pronounce this, but the azimuthal equidistant projection. So this is a map projection, basically a transformation of the sphere onto a plane.
Okay.
They wanted their logo, which is a 2D drawing, to include everything on the Earth, so they have to flatten it out.
Right.
Yeah, and
Because
it also,
a logo can't be spherical in 3D space. So
it also looks like a radar system.
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Because like
We're
in
gonna put that picture up on the.
yeah, we'll put the picture of the UN logo up on our Instagram just so that you guys can see it. But really, the way that it looks also is that it truthfully does look like a radar system centered on the North Pole. Mm-hmm. So kind of like you see in the movies where you see those little like blips on radar systems and everything.
All right, so the UN logo is, they needed something that was gonna fit on a logo on a flat surface and also include all the countries. There were several prototypes of this, and eventually they landed on this particular logo, which some flat earthers believe that it was an indication, kind of like a little hint that the Earth is flat. In my opinion, it was just the only way to include all of the countries on a flat surface logo.
I agree.
But
I agree.
I suppose it could have been a hint, but I don't think so. They also claim that there has never been a north to south circumnavigation of the globe, which would mean they say that nobody has traveled straight up from North Pole to South Pole, but actually somebody has. Somebody named Dick Smith, who did in 1988, and a few others have not quite succeeded from what I've read, but they've tried and gotten very close. But Dick Smith did, in fact, do it. So I don't know if he went all the way in a circle around the globe, but he did go from north to south, which this site is claiming that nobody's ever done as far as the poles go. So there's that. From my research, it seems like they were wrong on that. They also cite on this website that when you see a space shuttle taking off or satellite launches, that it does look like they're going up and then curving back around to possibly come back down to the ground, away from the launch site. Which, to the naked eye, it does look like that. It looks like it's curving. Now, I couldn't find a whole lot on why this could be from my research. Also, I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking for this one. Because from my perspective, because it's a spinning planet, the ground beneath them is rotating away from their launch site, so they look like they're kind of straying far the other way. Yeah. If they're going straight up, it's going to look to us like they're going to the left or to the right, because the Earth is, we're spinning with the Earth. They're not going to spin with the Earth because they're on the Earth. They're like out beyond the atmosphere. That's just kind of, my logic. That being said, if they are curving, I believe that a lot of these launches, they have to get in orbit around the Earth. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense to me that they would curve a little bit so that they can more easily enter into a circular shaped orbit, right?
Okay.
Again, I don't know the facts on this. That's just kind of my logic on this. But please, like I said, I didn't get a lot of information. So for listeners out there that do think that space shuttles and satellite launches go up and then curve and come back down to Earth, tell us why you think that it wouldn't be possible for it to look like it was curved rather than actually being curved. Okay, this one's kind of again, don't have a lot of information on this, just my opinion. They say on the site that because the northern latitudes and the southern latitudes have drastically different kinds of animal and plant life, if the Earth were a ball, then the northern and southern latitudes would have similar amounts of life. The fact that southern latitudes have surprisingly little life, while the north is surprisingly lush, would prove that the Earth is flat. However, that's called climate. Different areas of the Earth have different climate based on its relation to the equator.
Yeah, climate variances.
How much rain, what time of year it is, because while the north hemisphere is very lush because it's springtime, the southern hemisphere, it's not springtime, right?
Right.
So they wouldn't be lush at the same time that we're lush with plant life and animal life.
Right.
So I don't know how the southern hemisphere is during wintertime for us, but I would assume that because for them it would be spring and summertime, while it's winter and fall here, that they might actually have bigger, better plant life than we would.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Probably.
But again, I don't have a lot of info on that. Yep, that's what I have. Most everything else is stuff that we can include on our moon landing episode.
Which I definitely am excited to do. Just because, like I think I said earlier, I believe that we did land on the moon. I think the televised event was probably faked.
Ooh, I have some comments on that, actually. I'm excited.
We will definitely get into that in a later episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing that I found kind of interesting, that kind of goes along with what you were saying, Kalie, is I actually went to the Flat Earth Society's website, and they had a list of frequently asked questions, and there were a few that were interesting. There was one in particular that I saw and was instantly like, oh yeah, I'd kind of like to know the answer to this. The question was, if planets are round, why isn't the Earth?
Okay.
So, and I'm just going to quote this directly off of here. Planets are orbiting astronomical objects. The Earth is not a planet by definition, as it sits at the center of our solar system, above which the planets and the sun revolve. The Earth's uniqueness, fundamental differences, and centrality make any comparison to other nearby celestial bodies insufficient, like comparing basketballs to the court on which they bounce.
So that is suggesting that the Earth is the center of the universe.
Yes.
And we are a disk.
Yes.
And the other planets and everything revolve around us.
Yeah.
Right?
That is what it
so
suggests.
I don't understand that. Assuming that's true, which I'm not totally on board with that.
Yeah, I don't believe that the universe revolves around the Earth. I think it revolves around the sun.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, not the universe. Just our solar system.
Sorry.
Just our solar system revolves around the sun.
My bad.
We're actually kind of along the edge of the Milky Way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of the Milky Way galaxy. At least what science tells us. So we're not even in the center of our galaxy, let alone the universe. But that being said, assuming that's true, assuming that we are the center of the universe, why would that make us flat and other planets round?
True.
I don't know. That wasn't one of the frequently asked questions.
Okay.
Yeah, but wait, that's not even answering the question that was posed.
Okay, so, well, maybe...
Because the question that was posed were, why are all of the other planets round,
no,
but we are...
if all the other planets are round, why are we not round?
Well, maybe
but,
if we're the center of the universe, say the center of a plate, and you have it on, those, like, Cirque du Soleil people who spin it, like, on a little, whatchamacallit, a stick.
Yeah.
So the plate is spinning from the center here, so everything's going to go outward flat. So I suppose if your plate was, let's say they were spinning a really gelatinous ball, right? As they spin, the force will draw it outward to flatten the squishy ball, if they're spinning it fast enough. So maybe if it's the center, because they're spinning it from the center, the gelatinous ball goes outward because the gravity's pulling it outward to flatten it.
But then wouldn't that in turn pull the rest of the planets outward?
Maybe not if they were far enough away from the center of gravity. If they're far enough away from the center of gravity, they themselves would not become flat. They would... Yeah, it would make sense that they were round if we were the center of the universe. Because they themselves are going to be orbiting around us, the plate.
I see what you're saying. So basically, we don't have any relation to the other planets except for the part that they revolve around us.
They would revolve around us if we were the center.
Yeah. So we don't have any relation to them except for them revolving around us.
But that doesn't really explain the way that other galaxies would form because they have a center.
Yeah.
Right.
They themselves have a center of gravity.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really explain. I mean, I don't think that any of these really explain very well. Honestly, that's why, I'm interested to see who out there is listening has maybe better explanations for us.
Right. We might have just
making sense to me.
We might have just fallen on bad explanation. I'm just not following that logic.
Yeah, but
I'm not either.
Yeah.
A more in-depth person might be able to tell us, explain to us a little better.
I wanted to interview people and nobody responded to me. I did try.
I think that's because unfortunately a lot of people don't really understand, even in the way that you did phrase the question on Facebook. I think a lot of people are kind of more assuming that we're going to be disrespectful, even though we did pose the question.
Once they listen to this episode and they see how we are treating this, and they have thoughts and interjections they would like to throw in. Maybe we can do a follow-up episode later,
right?
That explains, like, maybe a couple of episodes that we've done. We'll have like one follow-up episode that explains a few different things that we've already covered.
Definitely.
I think that would be fine.
Yeah, please throw us your theories because
and we don't have to use your name if you're not comfortable with that. That's totally fine.
And give us explicit permission that we're allowed to use what you're saying.
Right.
I do want to keep an open mind about this. I'm still not on board, but if you have an explanation that clears it up a little bit, like I'm willing to.
As respectful as we feel that we're being to you guys, I do feel that we do expect that back.
Yeah.
Just because
and each other, don't berate each other. Come on.
Yeah, please don't berate each other in the comments.
No, all this nonsense that I see online of people just being rude to each other, there's no call for that.
There's none.
It doesn't take any extra effort to be nice to someone.
We believe different things, and that's perfectly okay. Yeah. And so when you guys are writing into us, just realize that if you do have any negativity in your emails at all, we're not even going to read them, let alone put them on the podcast.
There is enough negative in our lives. Extra nonsense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody got time for that.
Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for some internet trolls.
Okay. So
stats. Okay,
yes.
Moving on to statistics on the people that do believe the Earth is flat.
Yes.
So, YouGov poll, that's exactly what it says, YouGov. But a YouGov poll says that 2/3 of people ages 18 to 24 believe that the Earth is round. So that is the majority of people. However, 1/3 of people, that means, by deduction, that means that 1/3 of people either believe that the Earth is, in fact, flat, or they believe, they don't know.
1/3 of people in that age group, 18 to 24.
Yes. Or that means that they don't know what exactly to believe. They don't really know or have an opinion.
Or
have an opinion on whether or not the Earth is flat or round.
Right, because some people believe that it is a donut shape.
Yeah.
Some people believe that it is actually, we're on the inside of a sphere, not the outside of a sphere. So there's a couple different theories with that, which actually we might be able to cover in an episode or so, later down the road if we want to come back.
If we end up doing a recap episode, then we'd probably end up exploring those ideas.
Yeah.
Another cool statistic, flat Earth is actually the 3rd most Googled conspiracy theory.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
what
so
are 1 and 2?
1 and 2 were Sandy Hook and Area 51.
Okay.
Cool.
Which,
all right.
Personally, I think it would be great for us to do Area 51. I think that'd be really cool.
Oh, I'm all in.
But I don't think I want to do Sandy Hook.
No. Absolutely not.
I think that's one line that we shouldn't
never
cross.
touching that one with a 10-foot pole. No.
I don't think that's one that we should cross.
No.
However, if we want to do Area 51, I think it would be a really cool one to do. I think it would be a really, really cool episode
I think
as far as, because there's so many theories as to what there is in there.
I'm in on aliens.
Oh, I am
Anything
too.
involving aliens, we should totally do. I find that
Also,
incredibly interesting.
I am
Whether
too.
it's real or not,
Especially because I believe in aliens. I believe wholeheartedly in aliens. Not the green little Martian guys, but I believe that there are aliens, like other life forms out there.
I honestly think that it's selfish of us to not at least entertain the possibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that being said, if we do a specific to Area 51 episode, there are some other theories as to what Area 51 is.
Okay. Exactly. There's so many theories as to what there actually is in there. Yeah. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be a cool one.
So there are some famous people who do actually believe in the flat Earth theory. One of them being Tina Tequila, a couple of others.
Tequila, right?
No, Tina Tequila.
It's totally Tila.
It's totally not.
It totally is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Well, my apologies.
It's Tila.
On the website that I had, it was Tina Tequila.
That was a typo.
I guess so. So anyway, Tila Tequila.
Tila Tequila.
Tila Tequila. That is so sad. Your name must get mispronounced like that so much. Tila Tequila. I know.
I feel you, Tila. My name gets mispronounced a lot too.
I mean, mine too.
Yep.
Mine, there's
All
like
three of us, yeah.
40 different mispronunciations for it.
How hard is it to pronounce a 3-letter name?
No,
B-R-I.
my full name. My full name. That's why I changed it to Bree. But people do mispronounce Bree too. It's Bri.
Brian. Just kidding.
Brian.
Wait, Brian, Rachelle, and You called me Kaylin, right?
I called you Kaylin.
No, Brian Rachel.
No, it was Rachel. It was Rachel.
I thought it was Rachel.
Rachel is what I usually get called in everyday life.
Oh, Brian, Rachel, and Kaylin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had a
You
nickel,
are so wholehearted about
If I had a
that.
nickel for every time I've been called Rachel or Michelle in my life, I would be a rich, rich woman.
If I had a nickel for any time that I was called literally any variation of Brianna, I'd probably be a millionaire by now. Billionaire, if not.
I get Kalie, Kaylin, Caitlin, Katie, Carly.
Carly?
Yes, I get Carly. Oh, I got Kaden once. Like, I just, like, so many. And it's not that hard.
No, it's really
And so
not.
whenever, if I'm typing to somebody, like if I meet somebody online or something, if they don't actually hear me say it to them the first way, I always, when I spell out my name, I'm Kalie, I, write it normal, but I put in parentheses, pronounced Kay-Lee.
Yeah.
Because just, I know that they're going to pronounce it Kalie or something.
I do that too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Tina Tequila. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Tila
Tequila.
Yes.
We're so sorry, Tila.
Tila. No, I'm not.
Please no more feuds.
Tila Tequila. Tila Tequila also believes in flat Earth. As I was saying earlier, B.O.B. believes in flat Earth. Popular YouTube theorist D. Marble believes in, not to be confused with our Lord and Savior Jenna Marbles, but
I love Jenna.
I love her so much.
I love Jenna.
D. Marble believes in the flat Earth theory. Yes, Kalie?
I was going to say another YouTuber. Well, you know Shane Dawson.
Yeah.
Well, his last name is actually Yaw.
Yeah.
Y-A-W. He has a brother named Jared Yaw, Jerid, who deals a lot with conspiracy theories, and he's got a documentary on YouTube. I think it's on his channel. I'm not sure, but look it up. It's called Inside the Flat Earth Community by Jared Yaw. Look that up.
Yeah.
So that's another YouTuber, since you were talking about YouTubers.
Definitely. And that's all I got for famous people. How about you?
I have one. Kyrie Irving is a basketball player. I believe he plays for the Boston Celtics. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a basketball person.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Pretty sure he does. He's a point guard, according to the article that I found. So there's that.
Yeah, when
Kyrie
we were...
Irving has made public claims that he believes that the Earth is flat. He actually has been quoted as saying, "The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat. It's right in front of our faces. I'm telling you, it's right in front of our faces. They lie to us." That is a direct quote.
It's always funny hearing like direct quotes from people who are really angry and screaming something over and over. It's always funny to listen to it.
I don't know in what context he said that. It does seem like he was probably angry when
it seems like he was angry and screaming it. The
Yeah,
Earth is flat! The Earth is flat!
I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to say that. He could totally beat the living tar out of me, so not going to say that.
Moon.
But he does believe in flat Earth theory. So,
for people who are saying that it is right in front of our faces and it is so obvious, I really want you to tell me how it's obvious. I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
Yes, Kyrie Irving, if you're listening, please explain.
Please.
We would really love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. When Rachelle and I were talking about recording this episode and everything, she was like, "Oh yeah, a really famous basketball player was actually quoted as saying he believes it." And I was like, "Michael Jordan?" So that really shows you how many basketball players I know of.
So retired.
I know.
None of us are basketball watchers.
We're not exactly sports fans.
I like going to baseball games. I don't want to watch it on TV, but I do enjoy going to the game and being there.
Yeah, I don't.
That is about as sportsy as I
The
get.
only sport that I
I'll watch the
enjoy...
Winter Olympics every 4 years. I love the Winter Olympics. Don't care for the summer, but I love the Winter Olympics.
The only sport that I really watch and care about is, honestly, drum corps. Drum corps is really, really cool to watch. It's really fun.
Does Quidditch count? In real life, though, I know this sounds weird, but like I really like pole dancing competitions.
Oh yeah, I get
I've
that.
never seen one, but I'd be interested to.
They're really cool.
So like such athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
it's
you have
so
strength.
a strong core for that.
Yeah,
which
and they
I do not have.
They have different categories as well. Like it's very cool, very very cool.
Yeah.
I recommend watching it.
Okay, so I do have one more person
Yeah.
that I want to mention. So a lot of people who believe the flat Earth theory like to say that George Bernard Shaw, the playwright, the Irish playwright, a lot of flat Earth subscribers like to say that he believed the flat Earth theory, because of a passage in his 1924 play Joan of Arc that says, in the Middle Ages, people believed that the earth was flat, for which they had at least the evidence of their senses. We believe it to be round, not because as many as 1% of us could give the physical reasons for so quaint a belief, but because modern science has convinced us that nothing that is obvious is true, and that everything that is magical, improbable, extraordinary, gigantic, microscopic, heartless, or outrageous is scientific. So people say that that means that he believed in this.
That was a lot
however,
of adjectives.
The next sentence, the very next sentence in the play says, I must not, by the way, be taken as implying that the earth is flat, or that all or any of our amazing credulities are delusions or impostures. So he was not a believer in the flat earth theory.
So he literally in the next
sentence says, yeah, I don't believe this.
Yeah, that's the thing about a lot of people is that they see what they want to see.
A little out of context there.
I know a lot of people in real life who believe that about other things that are not the flat earth theory. But I digress.
I mean, I think we all do.
I also want to mention a person called Mike Hughes, who was a known daredevil and flat earth conspiracy theorist, who built himself a homemade human-manned rocket with the intent of flying up into space on his own on March 24th, 2018. So this is recent.
Wow.
Okay. He made his rocket from scrap metal, estimated cost of $20,000.
Jeez.
Using a mobile home as a custom launch pad, and he climbed 1,875 feet.
Oh my god.
He was inside the rocket, ended with a hard landing, but parachute successfully deployed.
Oh, good.
Okay,
He's
good.
fine. He was not seriously injured, and he remains firm in his flat earth beliefs, and claims that the real evidence will come with larger rockets.
Yeah.
So I believe that he is he's going to do this again. He's going to attempt
Honey.
this again, and that scares me.
So what part of the flat earth theory was he trying to prove by sending the rocket up with him
The
in it?
curvature.
The curvature. He wanted to go up and, take
He wanted to be in space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did he end up taking any pictures?
He didn't get far enough. He only made it
1,000 feet.
1,875 feet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, a
So-
little over it.
1,875 feet.
So why didn't he go in a helicopter or an airplane or anything? That would cost way less than $20,000.
But you can't get that high up, can you?
Yes, you can. Airplanes normally get about 20 to 30,000 feet high.
I don't know why. It
That doesn't make sense to me. He would save a lot more money if he got into an airplane or something.
Well, but he would. Maybe he thought that
He was
they were
trying,
in on the conspiracy.
or
he just wanted to do it himself.
or he was trying to get higher than 20 to 30,000 feet.
Is
because
that
like
how high airplanes get?
Because when
I'm
I
sure
was
he
in
wanted
an
to get
airplane,
higher than
when I was
that.
in an airplane and we were at the point when you stop ascending and you just coast, he said we're at 22,000 I think or something feet.
31 to 38,000 feet. It says the Mile High Club, but planes go 5 to 7 miles up. Anyways, the 5 Mile High Club.
So, let's go into a couple of motives of why people seem to think that the flat earth theory was created in the first place.
Yeah.
So, quite a few people actually do believe that NASA is concealing the truth about, how the earth is shaped because they want to hide the existence of God.
Okay. But then why is religion so thoroughly protected by the government if the government wants us to not believe in God?
Because they want us to believe that they want us to believe.
But they don't actually want us to believe.
But they don't actually want us to believe in God.
Why not?
Okay.
Because enough people believe in God right now that on Judgment Day, heaven's just going to be, so full. So anyway, NASA is basically concealing the truth about the Earth because they don't want us to know that they know that God exists.
Okay.
Okay, so you're saying that maybe NASA or the government or the CIA or whatever has proof that God exists, but they don't want us to know the proof.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
And kind of like the Bible verses that Rachelle was saying earlier this episode,
Yeah.
I guess they might think that those Bible verses were proven to be true by NASA.
Okay.
And so, therefore, that nearly proves God to be real.
Yeah, and if
By default, yeah.
By default?
Okay.
if the Earth was a disk and there was a domed atmosphere, that would suggest some kind of intelligent being to create that.
Or there has been all the way up, like to where supposedly the heavens are.
Okay.
And they've found out that God, in fact, does exist because they've seen it.
Okay.
Or that. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that.
All right.
But
That's just your speculation.
that's just my speculation
Okay, all right,
as
sure.
to why they could think that.
Okay.
However, government conspiracies are a little bit harder to disprove or not, just because it's the government. So, like, obviously there's quite a bit that they can hide from us.
Right, and a lot of people are automatically very distrusting of the government for some legitimate reasons.
Especially a lot of people around my age. Because, like I said, only 2/3 of people my age, 18 to 24, believe that the Earth is, in fact, round, like NASA has told us.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very small amount of people.
Well, like we were talking about before the podcast, like younger people especially are beginning to really see how distrustful politicians are, governments are, etc. And so if a higher authority says whatever about anything, pretty much, it's really easy to just automatically discount it.
Yeah.
So I get that. Yeah, just kind of like an overall, okay, they said that it's round, so it must not be.
Definitely. Yeah. It's weird. However, by medieval times, it was widely accepted that the Earth was round, and it was depicted as such in most forms of art that was created around, you know, that kind of stuff. What are you looking at?
Your hearing aid, it looks like a little sperm. Sorry.
I'm good. I'm glad to know that I have something that just constantly looks like sperm in my ears.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm glad to know your opinion on it. Would you like to take a closer look? Here you go.
Yeah, kind of.
Does it still look like a sperm?
Not as much. But from the angle, it looked spermy.
So anyway.
It could also be, possibly, that if the Earth was flat and there was a simulated gravity and or dome, that could possibly be an organic simulation that we're in. Some kind of either more intelligent being, possibly an alien, or possibly God, or maybe even a government of sorts that we don't really know about, could be keeping us all in sort of a test dome area, potentially. But that's not really the simulation theory. That's a little bit different.
Okay,
Right,
but
we will
why?
do an episode
Yeah.
of simulation
Yeah.
theory.
Okay, but
This is
why?
more an organic, I don't know, to test us, to perform experiments possibly, to kind of like the Truman Show us a little bit. Yeah, those are just like ideas that I can conceive that maybe people think.
The one that I read the most online when I was researching this is that some people believe that NASA is lying about the Earth being flat because it's for financial reasons. All of the money that they're getting to do, space exploration and their experiments and whatnot, they're just pocketing and keeping it for themselves, and there it is. Instead of using it for those things.
That's a possibility, yeah, but
I mean, money is the motive for a lot of things.
Yeah, money could totally be a motive for this.
And people have certainly done worse for less.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So.
And I'm sure they get pretty substantial funding. So that's
Oh,
a lot
definitely.
of money.
Not as much as
Definitely.
they used to because
Well,
of
that's true,
the
too.
current administration.
Yeah.
That's true. So the only other thing that I have left to talk about is there was a study published online, March 5th, 2014. This was a study done by Eric Oliver and Tom Wood, who are political scientists at the University of Chicago, and this was published in the American Journal of Political Science. They found that half of Americans endorse at least one conspiracy theory, whatever it is, Marilyn Monroe, JFK, 9/11. Half of the Americans, half of the people in America, sorry, half of the people in America believe at least one conspiracy theory.
Okay. I'm surprised it's that low.
Same.
I am too, actually. But Eric Oliver was quoted as saying, "Many people are willing to believe many ideas that are directly in contradiction to a dominant cultural narrative."
Wait. But you did say this poll was performed in 2014?
Yes.
Because I think in the last few years, it's probably gone up.
The information that I found was older, yes. It's probably gone up.
It's more than likely gone up since then.
But this is known as magical thinking.
Okay, explain magical thinking.
It's the willingness to believe something that is not the cultural norm.
Okay. Every time. No,
Which I totally get, and you're probably right. This is an old study. It probably is a lot higher now.
Well, because I think all three of us kind of have that kind of thinking.
Absolutely, yeah. Kalie believes simulation theory.
Yeah.
I believe in Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, for those of you noobs who don't know her.
And I believe in a lot of stuff.
You do believe in a lot of stuff. I think we all believe in ghosts.
Oh, we all definitely believe in ghosts. However, I don't think that's against the societal norm right now. I think societally...
I think it is.
I'm not sure.
I've met way more people that are
but
believing
you
in
haven't been all over the
ghosts.
world.
Yeah, that's true. But I also am in the age of the internet, in which I've seen far, far more people that believe in ghosts on the internet. Or at least are interested in the prospect of ghosts. Yeah. Okay, so as far as percentage as believing this goes, Kalie, what are your thoughts?
I don't think that was a sentence. But okay.
What do you mean? As far as believing this theory...
Yeah, it wasn't a sentence.
As far as...
It's okay, we understand.
I don't even remember what I said now. Hold on.
I cannot repeat it because I have no idea where that train of thought was.
I'll repeat it with my original train of thought.
Okay.
As far as percentages to believing this theory goes, how much you believe this... Okay. How much... At what percentage do you believe this theory, Kalie, go?
That was almost a sentence. I'll take it.
That was a sentence!
I'm kidding. Okay.
My ears are getting so red. I don't understand why. Why am I getting so red? Okay.
So, flat Earth theory...
You're the Jersey Devil.
True.
Flat Earth theory... Okay, listen, I get the perspective of possibly the government or a higher authority or whatever kind of deceiving us. I get that. I understand the logic there, but out of pretty much all of the other kind of quote proofs, I wasn't seeing anything that was particularly compelling. I'm open to the idea just a little bit, just like a little crack, like just a little. So I would say 2% chance potentially that the Earth is flat, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
Okay. That's legit.
Rachelle?
Yeah, I didn't find a lot of compelling evidence. Would love to hear from our listeners who can explain these things better to me. Might change my opinion. Well, probably won't change my opinion. Might change my percentage a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna go probably also 2%. Yeah, it's I don't subscribe to it.
What about you, Bree?
Were you convinced by this episode?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I thought she was about to go like real
yeah,
high.
Me too.
Wow. Okay. I mean, if you do, we won't judge.
No, I'm not. Thing is that I'm pretty well of the belief that the government is only going to lie to us if they really got a reason to. I think that they're only going to...
I don't know that I agree with you there.
Well, that's kind of the point of the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that they're only going to lie to us if they have a reason to. Like, if they have a personal gain to whatever they're lying to us about, then sure, they'll lie. But, in this case, I don't really think they're lying.
No, I don't.
I don't think there's really any reason for them to. Therefore, I'm going to put my percentage at even lower than you guys.
Okay.
I'm going to put it at 0.6.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to keep an open mind. I personally, on this podcast, am never going to put my percentage at an actual 0. I know for a fact that I have put my percentages quite low. 0.0000 something.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that I've done that
Same.
on this podcast so far. But I will never go full 0. And even in this case, I'm not going to go full 0. I'm going to go...
Right, because we want to keep an open mind. And maybe somebody out there can convince us.
Yeah, or
it's
at least
possible.
higher our knowledge of the theory and make it to where
If
we...
you've got some compelling evidence, great.
Yeah.
We want to hear it. We really do.
Definitely.
We and our listeners, I'm sure everyone will agree, will have and should have an open mind to all suggestions.
Yeah.
Of every theory.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point of conspiracies.
If you have something that you want to talk to us about that we haven't covered yet, feel free.
There's quite a few.
We're interested in all of it.
There's way more conspiracy theories, quote unquote, that cannot be proven one way or another than there are theories that can.
Yep.
So that's kind of the point of conspiracy theories. And the point of conspiracy theory podcasts like the one we're doing is that we cannot prove one way or another. This is just our opinions as 3 young white ladies.
No, yeah, feel free to message us on our Facebook anytime.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think.
We will. I'm pretty. Bria and I both. Well, actually, really, all 3 of us are pretty
responsive
on Facebook all the time. Yeah, we're all pretty responsive.
We're pretty responsive.
Feel free. Anything that you want to talk about regarding a conspiracy theory or a cryptid, yeah, we want to hear it.
And also,
we will answer.
DMing the Instagram, I will definitely be pretty responsive at that as well. So literally just messaging the Facebook account or messaging the Instagram account or emailing us, literally whatever you want to do. So to wrap this up, in general, we 3 ladies do not personally subscribe to the flat earth theory, but let us know if you do. So I'm Bree.
I'm Kalie.
And I'm Rachelle. And we were
Paranoia Percentage.
You can find us on Twitter at Paranoia Percent, Tumblr as Pdubs Podcast, and Facebook and Instagram as Paranoia Percentage.